this is Barry. Welcome to the demo of Cisco Secure Workload Protection, also known as Tetration. Tetration is Cisco's key zero trust workload solution that enables you to protect your workload with ease and confidence. They reduce your attack surface and give you microsegmentation capability for both private and public cloud. It learns its own policy and enable you to enforce with confidence based on months worth of real wire data. When you land into Tetration, you'll see that we're in the security dashboard. And this is where we get an overview of how our workloads have been doing. And you can go back in time and look at the status in any time. And you will also see that the workloads in your environment for both public or private cloud for pretty much all of your applications, but you can look at a detailed report for one of your application as well. So you can select from the scope here, and you can choose. We have domain controllers here, and we have SharePoint. So let's take a look at SharePoint, right? So that's going to show us the scores for our SharePoint application. And besides the overall score, it's also broken into six different categories. And these categories, as you notice, like say for example, attack surface score seems to be very low. And if we want to look at the detail, we can just click on it, and it takes us to the section where we can see, the scores broken down into different workloads. And if you need to understand why the scoring, you can click on the dashboard here, where it will give you a detailed explanation of how the score was calculated. And another thing that we notice is that the vulnerability score is also a bit small. So, besides, drilling into the same detailed information, we also have a dedicated vulnerability section where, we will look at all the vulnerabilities that's being identified in our environment. And also, as the dashboard, you can also choose to look at vulnerability for, that's identified within certain application as well. Let's say, for example, SharePoint. So as you can see, like, it's broken down below, all the vulnerabilities that's identified, besides just the score. Well, what's most, interesting is that we also have a access complexity score. So this is basically an identification of how easy it is to exploit this vulnerability. Like low means it doesn't take much effort to take advantage of this vulnerability. So the benefits of understanding the vulnerability this way is just that we can do vulnerability based segmentation, meaning we can define policies like if vulnerability identified as critical or high impact, the concerned entity should not have access to some certain like shared services, like say for example some shared database, or we could notify administrators for patching. And this gives us the ability to protect, to proactively protect our services and infrastructure from potential threats. And this leads us to segmentation. So we can see all the applications that's being listed when we click on segmentation, right? So this you can see that we can manage basically all of our applications and enforce security on these applications, basically all of them on the same page here. If let's say if we add a new application in the future, that needs access to some shared resources like domain controller or some other services, Titration can identify the policy changes and that need to occur, and ask admin for approvals, right? So, you know, um, so here in the policy request, and back to work spaces, so as you can see, we have so many different applications, right? So, we can drill into any application from here when you click on them. Let's say SharePoint, right? Um, so these are the policies that's automatically generated by titration. And if there's no match, we have a catch-all that basically denies everything. And this is a layout of, all the policies. But, we also have um, graphical view that help you, visualize the connections, and what's connecting to what, in very fine detail. But, all the information we need are listed here. So as you can see, titration has the ability to show us all the details in the applications, and if we need to look at details, let's say for example, and with the domain controller, we can see that titration automatically helps to um, a group, the servers, that's, we can see the servers that's actually providing the service. We can see that we have two domain controllers. And with this, you know, um, how does titration identify, right? These automatically. It's because it can look at a few things. One is running processes, and the other is flows, like say transactions and conversations with other services. So that helps, to identify and group, the servers automatically. We could also utilize tags or say roles, when we tag the servers with a certain keyword, like say, for example, domain, then titration can automatically drop it in this group. And what's really powerful is that say for example, our application grows or our domain grows, and we need new servers. And when the server is added, need to be added, we don't have to go through like change controls or manual settings, because the new server can just inherit the policy from the group, right? So there's no, not much change on, that manual intervention that's required. So it's fully automated. And we can drill down to more details in application. Let's say for example another we look at another one, which is let's say database, right? So we can look at the workload, and we can click on the details, and it would show us the full detail of the workload, its profile, with the host name and the cluster where it belongs. And what's most interesting is we can also see what it provides, which is the ports that's open, and what it consumes and what it connects to, and the processes. For each of the ports that's open, we can also see the processes that's actually, or the services that's listening or binding to the port. Now this is golden because in most of the cases, like say when you're doing packet capture, you just don't get this kind of visibility, right? So which is super powerful, that give you a true end-to-end kind of visibility. And we can easily identify, what is actually binding to the port. If it's something that's, in the temp folder with a weird name, then we know it's possibly malicious, right? And you can also see that there are certain ones that's bolded. That means that we had, flows observed on them. Those are active, being utilized. And there are gray ones that had no flow observed on these services. That means, we could potentially block these because we've never used them before, to further fortify our servers. And if we want to take a look at, the actual, policies, we can click on, the services, and, we can see, what's being, will be allowed, and you can see the um, full detail of the consumer, the provider, where it's from, and what's connecting to, and all those details here. And if you're satisfied with the policy, you can click on enforcement button, and then the policy will be enforced across your environment. But before you do that, so this is where, I talked about confidence, right? So how do we know that we're not breaking anything, right? So this is, the biggest fear of a lot of, security analysts, whether I'm breaking anything in production, by, enforcing a policy, right? So this is where the policy analysis come really handy in this case. And another gem that's within titration is that it give us a really good overview of of the policy, and whether it could have a potential impact to our real traffic. What's going to be blocked, or permitted or escaped, and you can go back in time, for whatever lawn that you need, and you can see what's being blocked and who's being blocked. You can see the host names of the consumers, or you can see the ports or the address, or even certain processes that's being blocked, right? So process name, process ID, and in full detail. Let's say we want to focus on the rejected ones, which are the ones that's being blocked here. You can see full detail of the ports, the source, the destination, and the host name. And this potentially a lot of these we want to block them. Maybe it doesn't make sense to allow them, but we can potentially identify things that we could have missed, right? So say for example there's a backup like that happens every month. This gives us an very good opportunity and tool to double and triple check our policy before we enforce it. So I hope you found this demo helpful. Thank you for your time.